Hello everyone, after a couple months I'm finally back with another Speedpaint video. And this would mark my third attempt at recording some commentary for it because, bro, every time I tried something happened. I think the first time my mic settings were wrong. Second time I couldn't find a nice window where everyone was quiet and no one had something they needed to talk to me about. I hope that the sound is better this time because I got 2 videos in before somebody decided to tell me that my audio was too quiet. I'm not a loud person at all anyway, but I mean, y'all could have said y'all couldn't hear me. Well, I know people could hear me, but after like changing computers and listening to my videos without headphones, I was able to realize exactly how quiet they were. Like I'm used to, like I've made videos before, Speedpaint videos, but they were always just with music in the background. Like I've never done commentary, so I didn't know anything about watching audio levels and all that good stuff, but I did a little Googling and hopefully things are better now. New software, more familiar with my microphone. Hopefully everything's fine, but if not, please let me know in the comments politely. Today I am working on a drawing of my character Rhiannon. Rhiannon is what I would call a very self-indulgent one-off OC. I didn't make her to fulfill a specific role in one of my stories. I kind of just made her because I found myself overwhelmingly inspired to do so. Anyone who knows me can tell you that I love dolls. I collect dolls. Not like every kind of doll you can think of, but there are a few doll brands that I just love to pieces. When I designed Rhiannon, I was like in what I would consider peak doll collecting mode. Specifically, I was collecting 2 types of dolls, pull-up dolls and ever after high dolls. So basically what had happened was I was in the process of buying a pull-up doll called Bloody Red Hood. And she was a Red Riding Hood themed doll, and I was just crazy about her design. She was this, I don't know how to describe it, this sort of gothic looking Red Riding Hood character. And I just thought she looked super cool. And I can't remember if I made Rhiannon either while I was in the process of waiting for her to get here, or I was still, making the plans to make the purchase. So what I did was I took the Bloody Red Hood doll design and mixed it with another Red Riding Hood themed doll, but from a different series. I took Cerise Hood from Ever After High because I love her design too, and mixed it with the pull-up design and added my own little personal flair or whatever and got Rhiannon. And when I make characters like this, they always have nice designs, but like I said earlier, they don't have places and stories, so it's like hard to do anything with them. So after I had made Rhiannon, like I tried making her some like other characters to interact with, but I have so many characters and I just couldn't find time to like use her. And at that time, I had this really strong conviction when I had characters and just never use them. So what I ended up doing at first was trading off her design in exchange for another design. Basically like converting her into an adoptable and trading her for a design that someone else created. Which, looking back, didn't really make sense because if you weren't gonna use what you made, you sure ain't finna use what somebody else made. But I felt bad, I think, about making her and not doing anything with her design. Like I said, back then I had this strong conviction because I don't know if it was just from being involved in the adopt community so much where it's kind of frowned upon to just have a design and just do nothing with it, even though it's yours. You can do whatever the frick you want. But I felt so, guilty that I just got this overwhelming urge to get rid of her, and I did. And later on, I regretted it like a whole lot. Like, oh man, I wish I hadn't traded her design on. That design was cute. And it was like the type of thing that's so specific that you couldn't replicate it without it being really obvious. So I just left it alone and gave up. But like a couple years later, the person who I traded Rhiannon to, like just gifted her back to me out of the blue. And I was super happy about that. And this Speedpaint is like my first serious attempt at drawing her again since I created her initially way back 1 year ago. I still don't have any explicit plans for her. I do want to try making some more characters to like go with her so she can have her own little isolated story. Like I already have a basic plot in mind. I mean, just the Little Red Riding Hood story, but I guess more dramatic and edgy as what people tend to like to do with fairy tales like that. But In the event that I don't come up with anything or I flake out and go do other things, I don't intend to let this girl get away from me again. I will put her in the basement where I keep all my other unused characters, and she will sit there until I tell her she can come out. And I believe that just about concludes everything I have to say regarding what I'm drawing. So I guess I'll move on to the part where I just answer you guys' questions. If you want to ask a question for me to answer in an upcoming video, you can comment below, or you can leave me a message on my Curious Cat, which I'll leave a link to in the description. Just make sure that you specify in your comment or in your Curious Cat message that you're asking the question specifically for it to be answered in the Speedpaint video. Otherwise, I might just respond to you with a regular reply just to, answer your question. The question I have for right now is from an anonymous person who asked, what was your internet journey like? Did you start off on DeviantArt and then move on to Twitter? Tell the whole story. I feel like my internet journey was a lot of jumping around. I'd find a spot, sit there for a little while, jump to another spot, sit there for a little while, and jump again. But I didn't start on DeviantArt. I actually started on a site called Fanart Central. fanartcentral.net, I think it was called. I think it's still around. Yeah, it's still around. When I first started posting art online, I knew about DeviantArt, but I was like 9 or 10. So when I checked DeviantArt, I would see all these, professionally done works. Like back then, I didn't even know what Photoshop was. So I was under the impression that to have a DeviantArt account, you had to be like a really good professional level artist. So I only went there to look. I was way too scared to try to post art there. But Fanart Central, when you check the front page and stuff, the art, there was a variety of art at different skill levels, because I think back then when you went to DeviantArt, the first thing you saw was the most popular pictures, which were typically, the very high quality stuff. Where I think on Fanart Central, they showed you just the most recent pictures first. So I was seeing art that, didn't scare me. People were using, stuff that I was using. Color pencils, pens, markers, stuff like that. So I felt like I had a shot, posting art there. So that's where I started off. And I stayed there for a while. I don't know if it was 1 or 2 years, but it was a pretty long time until I eventually gathered up the nerve to make a DeviantArt account. But I had a lot of fun on Fanart Central. I made friends. Back then I was a hardcore Sonic fan, so all I drew was Sonic art. I wrote Sonic fan fiction, and it was just a nice little fun time. And then when I finally gathered up enough nerve to join DeviantArt, it was more of the same. What happened is I had a DeviantArt account, but I still focused mostly on Fanart Central because I was more comfortable there. I remember, I actually remember one of my first experiences on DeviantArt, another Sonic account. I don't remember who the person was, but they just got on my profile page and commented a heart emoji and a little hug emoji, and then they watched me, and I was like, all right, I can do this. I can make it. I can make it on DeviantArt. I have a shot. And for the longest, I was met with silence. I would post things, get no favorites. Every blue moon, I might get 1 or 2. Most of the time, it was nothing. I remember drawing a picture of Cream the Rabbit in my sketchbook at school and being super proud of it. I shaded it and everything, and I scanned it and I posted it to DeviantArt, and it got nothing. And I cried. Oh my gosh. Anyway, scrolling the internet, interacting with, just seeing other artists and Googling and learning. I eventually learned about Photoshop. But even before I learned about Photoshop, I knew about MS Paint. So I stopped like posting my sketches and started doing things entirely in MS Paint, which looking back, I don't know how I managed that, but I did it. No tablet, just a mouse, MS Paint. And then eventually I moved on to Photoshop. Still though, using a mouse, no tablet. That was unfeasible to me back then. I mean, this was like when I was in like anywhere between 10 and I want to say about 13. And back then I got allowance, and it was like however old I was, that's how much money I got each week. So if I was like 12, I was only getting $12 a week. So ain't no way I was finna buy a Wacom tablet anytime soon. And then again, like my grandparents didn't trust the internet because they didn't want their identity stolen. So wasn't nobody finna pull out no credit card to order one. So I was just, I made it work with my mouse and my keyboard. And I look back at some of that stuff and I was like, I was really dedicated to drawing. I would sketch it out on paper, throw it in the scanner, and trace everything with the mouse and color everything in, and I'd post my stuff and people liked it, or at least enough people to make me happy enough to keep going. And DeviantArt became my main thing, and I stayed on DeviantArt for a really, really long time. I think, how long have I been on there now? Like what, 13, 14 years? From what I remember, I was pretty content just being on DeviantArt. I established an audience, made friends and acquaintances, and a lot of artists I admired also use the site. So it was just my nice little isolated world to be in when it came to my art. But for whatever reason, when people started talking about other websites, I paid attention. At that time, this was when Tumblr was starting to grow in popularity. Now, I had no reason to move to Tumblr, but I think what happened was that I kept seeing people's journals. Oh, I'm moving to Tumblr. Here's my new Tumblr account. Go follow me there. I'll be doing so and so, so and so. And at first I didn't really care, but after a while I was like, I'm gonna go see what this whole Tumblr thing's about. And I made an account over there. Initially, this is always how my jumps to new platforms go. I say, oh, I'm just gonna use this as a place to post sketches and simple stuff. And next thing I know, I'm chasing the numbers and it's become another place where I post all my main stuff. I don't remember how old I was exactly when I moved to Tumblr, but I know I was still in high school. I was either on my way out of junior high and moving to like senior high. I was in high school. I remember that much. I don't know Tumblr's format was kind of interesting to me, especially the I want to say the ask box, where people could like ask you questions and you could like publicly answer them. I learned about ask blogs. Like people would make ask blogs for characters, be it official characters or original characters. And that original character ask blog type of format kind of interested me a lot. And I made one for DLCs I had that were active at the time, and it was a lot of fun. And Tumblr in general was fun for a little while, but after so long, it got scary. It got real scary for numerous reasons I won't go into. But if you know, you know. I don't know, it just seemed like it felt like a minefield. Like you were one comment away, just one thing away from getting thrown under the bus and having every negative label someone could think of stuck to you. Like I said, if you know, you know. If you've been on Tumblr, it's become pretty infamous for that. The kind of people jumping the gun, trying to persecute people. I don't really want to get into that. Anyway, Tumblr was fun until it wasn't. Albeit, I will admit, I had several unpleasant experiences on Tumblr that honestly were my fault. I can't even lie. They were my fault. I was like a young, dumb high schooler, college freshman towards the end, and I just didn't think when I spoke. I had a bad habit of just not thinking before I spoke, and just not thinking in general, just jumping into stuff without second guessing whether or not it was a good idea. It would blow up in my face on Tumblr multiple times, to the point where I ended up making a separate account, eventually just drifting away from the first one I made making a new one. I actually made a joke of it. It's like 10K. Once you hit 10K followers on Tumblr, that's when you start having problems. And that pretty much was the case. Like with my first account, after I hit 10K, I started making enemies. And then I switched accounts. And that one I started off with little to no one because I didn't advertise the switch as hard, because I was kind of hoping that the people who disliked me from my original account but continued to follow me anyway for some reason would just leave. But with the new account, it was quiet and everything was cool. And then I hit 10K again, and lo and behold, another set of issues. And I make them sound like they're huge issues, but they're really not. Just people being salty in my inbox anonymously. People throwing shade at me. And when I say people, it was probably like either one super dedicated person or like a group of 3. I don't think it was like a mass number of people, or maybe it was, but I feel like I over exaggerate things, but I don't think it was that many people. And they weren't saying anything particularly groundbreaking or anything particularly super hurtful, just enough to be considered offensive, which honestly doesn't take much for me. Well, it really didn't take much for me back then. But even though Tumblr was starting to get on my nerves, I had been there for so long at that point that my DeviantArt audience had kind of fallen by the wayside. So when I posted things on DeviantArt, they didn't perform as well. I wasn't getting as much feedback. It didn't seem like people were paying attention. So it kind of felt like I had jumped on the Tumblr ship and had gotten too far away from the shore to swim back. So I kind of just sat there. And then I heard about Twitter. And in the same fashion that I moved over to Tumblr, I made a Twitter account claiming that I would once again just use it for sketches and doodles and rambling. And I inevitably ended up chasing numbers, and it ended up turning into my main thing. And I think what makes Twitter easy to exist on so far is that there's no anon feature. If someone wants to come at you, they have to do it directly, and that reduces a lot of mess. And also, I like to think that I'm older and more mature and better at not doing stupid things and saying stupid things that would warrant that kind of attention. Who knows? But I've been on Twitter for it's been about 6 years now. Dang, it does not feel like I've been here for that long. But yeah, been there since 2015, and I don't foresee myself going anywhere anytime soon unless something disastrous happens. But yeah, I like it. It's fine. Since making a Twitter, I've also made an Instagram. I didn't make an Instagram because Twitter was bugging me. I kind of just made one on a whim, because every now and then someone would ask me on Twitter if I had an Instagram, and I would tell them no. So I thought one day, well, I guess I'll make an Instagram. And it started the same way Twitter and Tumblr started. I said, I'll post sketches. Then I started chasing numbers. Now I still kind of post sketches, not really sketches, but art that I don't think is cool enough to go to Twitter. Like, it's not interesting enough. Like, I tend to want to post my little floating headshots and characters against a white background doing nothing, facing the right or the left or whatever. I tend to post that stuff on Instagram because I don't think people care, or I don't care as much because I don't have as many followers there. So I feel a little laid back when it comes to what I put over there. I guess that's been my art journey so far on the internet. Oh, there's also Toy House. I don't feel like Toy House really counts because you don't post. I mean, you post your art there, but that's more just for characters. So I won't go into Toy House. Oh, bro. I completely forgot about Fur Affinity. Oh my gosh. Okay, rewind. I'm trying to remember when I was active on Fur Affinity. Let me think. Okay, so like 5 years ago. So it was not long after I made a Twitter, I decided to revisit my old Fur Affinity account I made back in 2009 for reasons I do not recall. Yeah, I think Fur Affinity is how I first got into the adoptable community. Like, the more niche closed species side. Like I remember going over there and being really into like closed species designs and like trying to chase those down and doing the trading. Like I think that was the period when I was most active in the adoptable community. Like I didn't really go there with the intention of showcasing my art. It was mostly just to do adoptable stuff because adoptables were still pretty new to me and I was very excited about it, or one might even say overzealous. Yeah, I didn't stay there very long. I made friends though, which was cool. I say friends, but really just acquaintances. People where I'm like, hey, you draw good. And they're like, hey, you draw good too. And that's it. That's what I consider a friend on the internet. I like your art, you like my art, we're friends. I will never speak to you and you will never speak to me, but we're friends. Anyway, I stayed there for a little while. I want to say a year or two until Toy House. And then Toy House became the adoptable hub place, and I would do all my trading and stuff there until I just kind of drifted away from the trading and reselling and just focused on, you know, making stuff to sell and leaving it at that. Fast forward back to now, I'm just active on Twitter and Instagram and kind of sort of YouTube when I feel like recording stuff. Patreon, that counts. But that's not really a social media site. That's where you go to sell stuff. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up my online art internet journey thing. Not really exciting, just jumping from site to site as they came up, and that's it. Looking back, it sounds kind of boring, but I mean, it really doesn't feel like it's been as long as it has. Like, bro, I made my lineart account back when I was freaking 11, and I'm 25, finna be 26 in March, and I'm still here doing this stuff. At least now I'm making money, so it's different. But like, wow, I really found this stuff and was like, all right, I'm sitting down right here. This is where I be now. If I could go back and do things differently, I don't know. I guess it's kind of sad when I look back and realize how early on I started obsessing over likes and comments on pictures. Like, I was a little kid in freaking grade school crying over how many favorites a drawing got, and I'm 26 and still low-key doing that. Like, I don't cry over it anymore, but I'm not gonna pretend that I don't get salty when I draw something that takes a long time and post it only for it to get like half of the likes a doodle I did got. Like, I'm not even gonna pretend like that don't aggravate me still, but I'm just like, wow, I never got to really just enjoy drawing. Like, I got to enjoy drawing, but I never let myself feel proud of my art for a long time. I was proud of it during the entire time I was drawing it, but as soon as I would post it, all that pride would go out the window and I would end up doubting everything and obsessing over trying to do better. And I guess you could argue that if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't be where I am in terms of drawing, because I wouldn't have been so aggressively chasing improvement. But yeah, it's kind of pitiful to think about. But yeah, that's all I got for that question. Anywho, I think I'm just about done talking for this video. I managed to ramble on quite a lot through this, so to that one person out there who somehow sat through this whole thing and listened, you are amazing and you are wonderful and you're awesome. Okay, to everyone else, you're awesome too, even though you're probably not listening to this because you already left. But anyway, to anybody here at the end, what was your guys' internet journey like? If you post art, if that's a thing you do, let me know in the comments. Also, if you like this, be sure to, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, because as much as I like to pretend that I'm not, feedback does heavily influence my art related choices, especially when it comes to a site like YouTube where everything takes a whole lot of effort. And as much as I like it, I'm not gonna lie, like that first video I did for fun, the second video I did out of obligation, and this third video I'm kind of doing out of fun and out of obligation. I hate to say not obligation, but it's like I'll be minding my own business because I'll be on YouTube every day watching stuff, and every now and then I'll get a notification from somebody, a comment talking about how much they liked whatever speed paint they were looking at and how much they enjoyed it, and it always just touches my spirit, and then like new subscribers pop up, and I'm just like, oh, people like this stuff. It's a privilege to be putting out something that people enjoy to some sort of extent. But yeah, before I get off rambling again, goodbye. I'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully, and be blessed. I guess that's just my outro now. Be blessed. Y'all have a blessed day now, y'all. Take care of yourselves. Now drive safely. I'll see y'all later next time. Okay, bye-bye. Love you.